If you're anything like me, then you're constantly looking for your next project to make. So you hop online and you jump on Pinterest or Google and you search for woodworking projects. But your search results turn up absolutely nothing. Well, you're in the right place because I've done all the research for you, and today I've got a few projects that I think you're going to be interested in making. So our first project is going to be a candle holder, but I'm going to show you how to take a simple candle holder like this and show you how easy you can turn this into one of your best sellers by adding a little bit of a spin to this thing. Get yourself some 1x4 and a piece of 1x ripped to 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch, somewhere around a foot worth. Then you want to get a piece of 3/4 inch stock ripped to a 1/2 inch, 16 inches long. Grab your 1x4 and pull over to 4.5 inches and get this cut over at the miter saw. And this will leave you with a piece that is 3.5 by 4.5. On your 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch piece, pull over to 1 3/4 inches, and you want to get 4 of those cut. I'll bring that to my miter saw and I'll line up the kerf of my blade with that mark I made and mark my saw deck. That way I can batch these out pretty damn quick. I heard that if you love your mama, you'd hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to smack that like button. Next, turn your miter to 45 degrees. And with the 1/2 inch by 3/4 inch stock, cut 2 of them 7 inches long to long of that 45 degree miter. And that's all the pieces you're going to need to cut. Now, go ahead and mark the very center of your 4.5 inch by 3.5 inch piece and punch those intersecting points. Get yourself an 1.5 inch Forstner bit. I'll bring my piece to the vise, and at that punch mark, I'm going to drill down about 5/8 of an inch. Next, grab a scrap piece of 3/4 inch stock, lay that down, and set your base on top. Grab your 1 3/4 pieces and add a dab of glue, 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 add a dab of glue. And we'll add a dab of CA glue to help act as a temporary clamp. And we're going to be gluing these flush to the very corners. Hold down pressure for a few seconds for each one that you glue on. Now, make sure that 4.5 inch side is facing up. Take your 7 inch pieces that you cut and line those up flush with the top of your base, making sure you keep the same reveal on the left and the right. Add a dab of glue with a dab of CA glue. And you can use a square to butt up against your base and make sure that you're flush with your 7 inch piece, and flip it over and do the other side. You can call me stupid. Yes, you can call me. And I'm gonna get mine finished with some of this mocha stain. I really like the dark color stains. They just really make these pieces turn out wonderful. For the types of projects with a lot of 90-degree corners, I like to use these little brushes, and they sell these on Amazon in 100 packs for fairly cheap. I'll leave a link in the description. And that is how you take a simple candle holder and add a little bit of value to it by just adding 6 pieces. Project number 2, we're going to build this awesome tabletop decor. I'll start by getting a piece of 1x6 marked out to 10.5 inches, and I'll take that over to my miter box and get that cut. Next, I'll grab some scrap 3/4 inch stock that's at least 11 inches in length and get 6 pieces ripped to 1/2 inch. Now, before we do anything else, I'm going to add a slight round over to each edge of all these rips I just made, and we'll take care of that with the router table. This step is optional, but it really adds a lot of depth to the piece. Next, we'll go ahead and get these glued on, and I'll start at one edge of my piece and add some CA glue to act as a temporary clamp, and use my speed square as a spacer. The butt of my speed square is exactly 1/4 inch, so that will work out perfect if you have a speed square, or just rip you a shim that's 1/4 inch and use that for your spacer. Once that glue dries, take this over to the miter box and get those pieces cut flush to that top and the bottom of your base piece. Now determine what side you want your top to be on, and from that top, pull down to 3 inches and 3 3/4 of an inch. And we're going to be cutting a dado right in between these two marks. I'll be using my miter sled to achieve this dado, and I'll get that blade height set at 5/8 of an inch and sneak up on both ends of those marks I made. Next, grab the remainder of your 1x6 and get one cut to 4.5 inches and one cut at 4 inches. Now grab your 4-inch piece and find the center of that and get that marked out and punch those intersecting points. Bring that piece over to your vise, get that locked in, grab a 1-inch Forstner bit and get that punch mark drilled all the way through. I'll grab my speed square, and at each side of that hole, I'll continue that all the way up to one end of this piece. And you can get this cut out with the jigsaw or with the bandsaw. I'll clean up that dado that I made, and I'll dry fit everything, making sure I got the perfect fit. Once I like my fit and everything is snug and tight, I'll go ahead and get everything hit with some sandpaper up to 150 grit. Now we'll grab that 4.5 inch piece and add a dab of glue. This is going to be our bottom. And we'll line that up flush to both sides in the back. And we're going to pop a Brad in his ass. As far as our top piece goes, I'm not going to glue that in because I want to be able to take it out and put it back in. And this piece will hold our propagation base and fit nice and snug right in that dado we cut for it. And I'll slap a clear coat of poly on this piece. I'll leave links in the description where you can pick up some of these propagation bases. They're pretty cheap, and this is a super popular trend going on during the fall holidays especially. Propagation stations are actually really popular. All right, this next project fits right in with the fall holidays and seasons. And what you want to get is a 2x6 that's at least a foot long. And what I'm going to do is at one edge of my 2x6, I'll pull over to 2 inches. And at the very bottom, opposite edge, I'll pull in at 1 inch. I'll grab my speed square and connect the very edge up top to that 1 inch mark. And then I'll connect that 2 inch mark to that 1 inch mark as well. You can use a circular saw or a jigsaw to get this cut out, or like I'm doing with the bandsaw. I'll get that first piece cut out over here at the bandsaw, and then I'll use that same piece to mark out for a couple others. Then I'll get those cut out as well. I'll grab a 5/8 inch Forstner bit and bring these over to my vise. And right at the top near the center, I'll go ahead and drill down about 3/4 of an inch. Now grab yourself some natural fiber rope, and that's the same width as my Forstner bit, and I'm going to cut 3 pieces at 3 inches. Just make sure not to cut towards yourself. Next is the fun part. We'll take these outside, and I'm going to get these painted with some orange spray paint. Can you guess what we're making? If you guessed carrots, you'd be correct. Carrots are the perfect fall holiday decor. Now, I left those bandsaw marks on there because it really adds that texture to these pieces and makes it more authentic in my opinion. Preferably, I would use some hot glue to glue in my rope. However, I'm out of hot glue, so we're going to improvise with a little bit of CA glue. Add a dab of glue. And what I'll do with the top of my rope is I'll just unravel it, giving it that cool effect. And how cool is that, rock stars? I really love these types of little projects like this, and people go nuts for this stuff. There is 3 projects that you should be making. I really hope that you could draw some inspiration from these projects, because now it's your turn to get in your shop and make some sawdust.